Okay, in this video we're going to learn how to make a smiley face in Turtle Graphics. So we've already gone over the introduction of Turtle Graphics, and so if you haven't seen that, hop over to that video and check out some of the basics. The first thing we need to do is import the Turtle Graphics library, and of course if you don't have the library documentation open, you probably want to go to that. This is helpful. You can go through and look up all the different functions you can use for your turtle, all the different things you can do. So that's very handy. So you import the Turtle Graphics library and then turtle.done, and this just keeps the window open. All right, and we can run this Python 3 Smiley. Right, and we get this big canvas here, so I'm going to have to fix the screen size because I have two monitors here, and one is large and one is small. So in order to fix the screen size, what we want to do is get that screen, and that comes from the turtle package .screen. This is a class. The dot is the accessor. It accesses items in the package, and this looks like a function. And it is callable, but it has a capital letter, so that tells us it's a class. And this particular class is supposed to be a singleton, which means whenever you call this, the same screen gets stored in the variable. Usually when you call it or instantiate a class, you get multiple objects. With a singleton, you always get the same one. All right, so we get the screen object, which makes sense. There's only one screen when you're drawing stuff, so they made this a singleton. The screen object, we want to set the screen size, so we need to have a screen width, and we'll set that at 640, and then we're going to have a screen height, and that's going to be 480. So 640 by 480 is sort of a common resolution. So then we need to set screen size. Oops, screen. And to set the screen size, you just pass in the width and then the height. Now that is, the screen size is actually the size of the canvas that you can draw on. But we want to also change the window size, right? And there is a way to do that as well. Screen.setup. And again, you pass in the width, and you need to add a little padding just so that the window size is bigger than the canvas and the scroll bars will disappear. And then same for the height, and then add just a little bit of padding. 10 pixels should usually get it, but it depends on your monitor and setup. All right, so this should fix the issue. Okay, so there's a properly sized screen that I'm working with, window. All right, so that's set up. Now I want to create my turtle. I'm going to make him turtle again. So this is, we're accessing items that are attached to this package. So this is a class turtle. This one is not a singleton, so I could make multiple turtles if I wanted to. But generally speaking, all you need is one. And I'm going to do some basic setup for my turtle here. Don.speed. So I can make him draw slowly or quickly. I'm going to put it right in the middle. And I might adjust that later. All right. And then what do we want to do? Well, let's make a sort of maybe an emoji or something. We're going to make a smiley face. So to do that, it's good to section off your code or divide your code up into smaller tasks, right? So one of the tasks might be to draw the face, and then once you draw the face, then you draw things on top of it like eyes and mouth and nose if you have one, or a hat. So there are layers, but you can divide up your program into sections, and it's commonly a good idea to put that functionality in a function that has a good name. So here the name will be draw face, right? And we might have the center, a face location, an X and Y, or we can assume that that's at 0, 0 maybe. So we're going to draw the face, and really all this amounts to is drawing a yellow circle, right? So we're going to make sure that our turtle is at position 0, 0. So Don.pinup. So it's always good to lift your pin up and then move where you need to go and then put your pin back down, even if you think that you should be in the right spot already, which, you know, starting out, we should be at the location 0, 0, so we should be in the correct spot. But it's always best to do this. Don, and then go to, and where do we want to go to? 0, 0. And Don.pin down. And then we can say Don.circle. And actually I'm going to put the speed back at 1 to make it nice and slow so you can see how the circle is drawn. That's going to be important. So Don.circle, we pass in the radius of the face. Alright, so let's have some variables up here that relate to the face. So the face radius, we might have face X position, face Y position. Right. Okay, and these are capitalized. It's common convention in lots of programming languages. The capitalized variables, you set them once and then you don't change them. So if it's called a constant variable, which is sort of an oxymoron, but it's a constant. So you're setting this to something and you can reference it whenever you want in the code, but it's always the same value. Now the reason we do that is because as we run this program over and over, we might want to change these, but throughout the course of the entire program, they never change. You set them once at the beginning and then they never change. So the face X coordinate right now is going to be 0, the face Y coordinate is going to be 0, and we'll say the radius, this needs to be pretty large, so we'll say 300 or maybe 250. Okay, now all of our functions can use this. And so we want to draw this circle, and we want to draw it with the radius, face radius. Okay, so that should draw us a nice circle. Now we're going to have to take a look at how this is drawn. So this was just the function definition. To actually execute this, I need, so this is going to be sort of like our main program down here. I specify all my constants and my functions up above, and then down below in the main program section, I will call them, right? So draw face. And let's go up and run this. Okay, it already started drawing. Now, notice a couple things too. So the way the circle function works is it starts drawing the circle wherever your turtle is, but it starts by just moving forward and slowly turning left based on the radius you provided it. So the expectation for us might have been that the circle would be, the center of the circle might be in there, but that turns out not to be the case. So we have to account for that, right? And we could also change the heading of the circle. So if I were to draw a face, we go to pin down, I could say Don.set heading. So the heading is the direction that he's initially facing. Okay, so I'm going to set the heading at 90, and we're going to see what's different. Oops. And we look at this. So if the heading, normally to the east, the heading is 0. That's 0 degrees. To the north, that's a heading of 90. So that's what I set him to. He's going to start out going north, and then we're going to draw the circle. So the way that's going to work is he's going to start curving to the left over here, and the circle will appear over there. So it's important to know how the drawing of the circle works, right? And that's why we have this turtle here to show us a direction and to give us some of that information. So set heading 90. Let's see, pin down. Yeah. So one other thing, because I have to keep moving the screen over, I'm going to import the time library like I did last time. And that's just going to give us a little delay we're going to say time.sleep. That just pauses our program, and we're going to pause it for 2.2 seconds so I can drag it over, and then you can see it start animating after that. Okay, so that's all this. You don't necessarily need time.sleep in your program. That's just for this particular setup. All right, so we'll close this old one and run it again. Okay, so you see the turtle moved 90 degrees and then started drawing the circle. So depending on his heading, that depends on how the circle is drawn. So that's important to be aware of. So what we probably want is the circle to be right in the middle, right? And it looks like we made it a little bit too big too, right? I was thinking 480, right? So I was thinking 250 would be fine. However, that's the radius, right? So the radius is from the center of the circle to one edge, so it would actually be double that, which would be 500. So 500 is just a little bit bigger than our height of 480. So we're going to need to bring this radius down. We probably want to bring it to maybe, we could probably do 200. All right. But the other thing we want to do is we want the circle to be centered, right? So we might make another function to draw a centered circle because that might come up a lot, right? So let's define a function, draw circle, and we're going to specify an x and a y and a radius. Okay, so to draw this circle, we're going to use this don.pinup, don.goto, don.pindown, don.setHeading. So we're going to set heading to 0 degrees, which is to the east. All right, but the go-to, this is not quite right. The go-to, we don't want it to go to x and y, right? We actually want it to start at the bottom of the circle. So if the x and y is supposed to be the center of the circle, we need to subtract the radius from the y value, and then it'll start drawing the circle where we want it. All right, so so instead of going to xy, we're going to go to x, comma, y minus the radius. All right? And then we can do don.circle. So the circle is the built-in function to Turtle Graphics. Draw circle is our function. Okay, so most of our functions, just by convention, so I can tell them, you know, apart from other functions, I'm gonna call them draw and then something. But you don't have to do that. So I want to draw the circle with radius r. So then down here for draw face, all I need to do is say draw circle, and I'm going to pass in face x, face y, and face r. Run this, bring it over. Okay, and we get a nice circle in the middle of our screen. Alright, so I'm going to start speeding up the drawing a little bit because it's going to be a little bit tedious. But we know enough about the drawing, we know where the turtle's located, and we can kind of watch it draw. So this is good, this is a good start. One thing we want to do is we want to be able to set a pen color and a fill color. So I could say don.fill color, and I might use our hash color codes to make some sort of a yellow color. Smiley faces are normally yellow. So that's a really bright yellow. That might be a bit much. We might want to bring down the green a little bit. That's a little bit too much. Let's see what that is. There we go. That's not bad. That's kind of a mild yellow. Alright, so that is going to be the fill color. So we're setting the fill color. But then we have to remember to say Don.begin fill. Then we draw the circle and then say Don.end fill. Oops. End underscore fill. Okay. So this is our draw face function. We get the fill color, we begin the fill, and then we end fill. Now, to be safe, in case we had previously drawn something else, you know, we might want to set up the rest of the pin colors and the pin settings, right? So pin color, we want it to be black. Pin size, we want it to be size 1. And so this way, whenever we draw the face function, it always has the correct pin color and pin size, which these are the defaults, but we could potentially have drawn something beforehand and changed it, right? So that's why we're doing this here, to make sure if we have changed it beforehand, it always changes to the correct settings. All right, go down here, close it, run it. Right, so there is our face, and now we want to draw some eyes. Okay, so we're going to make the eyes a little bit more complicated. We're going to have the eyeball, and then the iris, and then the pupil. Right, so we're going to need to draw 3 circles, so that's a good thing that we have this draw circle function already made. So for each eye, we're going to draw one of these. And there's going to be at least 2 eyes. We could go weird with it and have 3 or 4 or 5, which we might do. So let's now make an eye, draw eye function. So define draw an eye. Okay, and we're going to need an X and Y location, and maybe iris color. And we might default that to something. So by default, the iris color, we'll make it like a green or something. It's too much. Bring that down. That's kind of cool. Bring it on down though. Let's go 6, 6, and 2, 2. It's a bit dark. Let's 2, 3. But see, you know, this is kind of the fun part too. You just play around with these until you find a color that you sort of like. Maybe just a little bit lighter. There we go. So that'll be sort of the default iris color, sort of a green emerald or something. So we want to draw the eye. So to do that, we need to draw, when you're drawing things with respect to the canvas, right, you have to draw the things behind first. So we need to draw the white circle first, and then the iris, and then the black circle for the pupil inside of that. All right, so to do that, we're going to need to Don.pinup. Well, actually, technically we don't need to do that because our draw circle handles that for us. All we need to do is focus on the colors, right? So we might say Don.pin size. Now we need to decide if we actually want outlines around these shapes or not. So if we do, then we would set pin size to 1. If we don't want outlines, we can set the pin size to 0. So we'll try it both ways. That should be Don. And I'm missing my colon there. All right, so set the pin size, Don.pin color. We'll set to black. Don.fill color. That's going to be white to start with, and then Don.begin fill. draw a circle. And we have to figure out the X and Y coordinate eventually, but it's always going to be the same. It depends on like where we want the eyeball to be looking, right? So if we have a circle here, if we just put the iris and the pupil in the middle, it'll be looking straight ahead. Eventually we might want to add, what direction the eyeball is looking. That's always an option, but we're going to ignore that for now. So we have X and Y. We draw the circle. And then what radius? So how big do we want this eyeball to be? Maybe a radius of 25 or 30. So that would be 60 pixel diameter. Yeah, that should be fine. We might need to make it bigger actually. So that would be drawing the white of the eye, and then basically we have to say don.infill. Okay, and that should fill in that as white. So we can copy and paste this, and now this is, let's see. So this is the white of the eye, and then this is the iris. And instead of fill color white here, we're going to pass in iris color. Infill. And the radius of this is going to be much, much smaller, right? So the radius for this might be, I don't know, 10. This probably needs to be 40. Make this 15. Yeah. And then copy all this again. Fill color. Now for the pupil is black. Begin fill, and then this should probably be a radius of 5 or something. Or I don't know, you can make it really big. 10. It's whatever you want to do there, right? You can size all this stuff. So we are drawing an eye. So this should draw 3 circles, assuming we did everything right. So we draw the face, and actually we probably want to call draw eye in the draw face function somewhere here, right? So this is going to be the left eye. So we'll call draw eye, and we pass in, what are the locations? Well, our face is at 0, 0. It has a height of, or a radius of 200. So maybe the X coordinate is going to be half of the radius, or let's see, the X coordinate, yeah, half of the radius. So that would be face radius divided by 2. And that's going to be a negative X value because it's the left eye. Then the Y value might be face radius divided by 2, but it's going to be positive because it's going to be up, right? And then we'll draw the right eye, and the only difference is the X value. This one's on the right, so it's going to be moved to the right. Okay, so we kind of did a lot of stuff before testing, so there's a good chance we have a little error here, so let's test before we go any further. Alright, not bad. The eye positioning is a little bit high, right? So we probably want the Y value there. First, let's speed this up again. Don.turtle.speed is 0. That's the fastest. And then, let's see, draw face, draw eye here. So instead of divided by 2, we'll probably want to do something like divided by 4. And, or maybe 3. We'll see. Let's do 3. And this is where it's kind of fun. You can play around with it. Alright, so you see that was much faster. and we can still see the turtle there. If we don't want to see the turtle there, we can, at the very end, we can say turtle.hide. So after we do everything, we can say Don. Actually, it might be hide. That might work too. I think it's hide turtle. There are shorter functions for all of this stuff, or for all of these shorter function names for all of these functions. So I forget what all of them are. I'm pretty sure hide turtle works though. Okay, so at any rate, we have eyeballs in our smiley face, and we have eyes, iris color, and we have the pupil. So now let's try to make a smiley face with teeth. So to do that, we need to draw basically a half circle and then connect it and fill that in with white, and then have a crisscrossing pattern for teeth maybe, or maybe a little circle in there for the tongue or something like that. You could have his mouth open and then make the inside of his mouth have a tongue and stuff in there. However you want to do it. There's lots of different things you can do. So let's add to this by adding a draw mouth function. So that's going to need an X and a Y position, and to draw the mouth, so first, what would it mean, the location of the mouth? Does it need to be the middle of the mouth, or can we say the X and Y position is going to be the top part of the mouth? It might make more sense to say that the X and Y position will be the top part of the mouth, and then we'll move over some radius and make a smile there. All right, so draw mouth. So the X and Y position is going to be the top of that. So we're going to want to say don.pinup, don.goto, and we're going to wind up changing this, but it's always good to start out with your X, Y, and then don.pin down. And then what we want to do is we want to actually move over to the left some value. So how much exactly do we want to move over? We could say if this is 200 pixels, then maybe we want to move over 150. So we're going to go to X minus 150. And then the Y position is just the top of the smile. Now this is important. We have to say don.setHeading. This is going to make this is going to change the direction that our turtle is facing. So right now our turtle is up here, and you see it's facing east, right? So that is, the heading is 0 degrees. And as you go around the circle, right, this would be 90 degrees facing north, facing west would be 180, and south 270, right? So we want to set the heading to 270 because when you draw the circle, you start drawing and you turn left. That's just the way the circle function works, right? So set heading 270, and we want to draw the circle, and we need to give it a certain radius. So we could say, if it's a half circle and it was, we'll pass in the radius of the smile if we want. So if the radius was 150, then that's what we post here. We'd say this is the radius. But then also, how much of the circle do you want to complete? We want to complete not 360 degrees of the circle. We want to complete 180 degrees of the circle. So this is going to give us an arc, a partial circle. So this is going to give us a half circle. So there's an optional extra parameter to circle that you can pass in that will draw half of a circle. Alright, so let's close this. We're drawing the mouth, and so we need to add this function call to our face function. Where do we want the mouth to be drawn? Let's see, that's probably going to be 0. I guess that would be face X. And then we're going to bring it down a little bit, so it would probably be face yeah, so that this would be yeah, I guess face radius divided by 3. And then the radius of this, we'll say, is 150. Right, so let's see if this is working. All right, so sort of, right? It sort of worked, except I think I needed the Y value to be negative, so to bring it on down lower. All right, so we need the Y value. Let's see, draw mouth. Here. So face radius divided by 3, that needs to be negative to lower it on down. Okay, so that lowered it too much. Maybe we don't put it in terms of radius. Maybe we do. Let's see, divided by. This would be face radius divided by 2, and then we'll say this is face radius divided by 4. I'm trying to put it all in terms of face radius. You don't necessarily have to. You could just put in numbers here and it might not be as complicated. I'm probably overcomplicating this, but that's what computer scientists tend to do. All right. All right, and so I could fill this in. I could make that a wider smile. I could lower it a little bit. There's a lot of different things I could do here. Let's just fill the arc in white from this side to that side. So to finish drawing the mouth, let's see, draw face, draw eye, draw mouth. So I want to say Don dot fill color is going to be white. And we have to do all the Don dot pen color is black, and Don dot pen size is 1, and Don dot begin fill. You draw your half circle, but then we have to say Don dot go to, and we want to go from where we are now, right, circle of radius. So our current position, it was x minus radius y, and then we drew the arc, the smiley face, so that's going to be x plus r, and we want to go back to x minus r. So this is where we want to finish up, right? It's back where we started, so we could just copy and paste this. And then Don dot end fill. All right. All right, and then you could add teeth if you wanted. You could add a line here. You could find that line by setting an angle from here, from the center point, and going out to the radius to find a line somewhere in there and draw a line there. Or you could just leave it like that if you wanted. That's plenty. We could add eyelashes by starting from the center of the eyeball, finding the radius, and then drawing little lines from the outside. And you could do that in a for loop. do a bunch of that. We could add multiple eyes if we wanted to. We could add a hat, add some rectangles here to make a hat. That would be nice and easy. A mustache would be wonderful, right? You can add noses. You can add anything else that you want. Some of the freehand drawing type maneuvers, like to make a nose that kind of is shaped the way that you want, that is a little bit tricky to do. You have to use like partial arcs or you could use polygons, right? So you could turn it a little bit and go forward, turn the turtle, go forward, so you could make it not quite circular. So anyway, this is the starting point. This is a simple smiley face, but it gets you familiar with what's happening with turtle graphics, and also like organizing your code, right? So one thing again that's important is we had our constant variables here at the top, and then our functions defined at the top, right? And then the main program is really simple. We just call draw face, right? So this is the main program. But draw face drew the face part here, right? But then it drew the eye, the left eye, then it drew the right eye, and then it drew the mouth. So we organized our code such that the different tasks were relegated to individual functions, right? So when I say draw eye, it's really obvious what that function does. It does everything that has to do with drawing an eye, right? And so all of that code's in one place. All right. So this has been a basic demo of how to create a smiley face, and hopefully you can add to it and have some fun with it. Thanks for watching.